Friends, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at one of the strangest and most controversial combat reports involving the American M1 Abrams tank. A vehicle praised for its armor, survivability, and battlefield resilience. And yet, during the Iraq War, one Abrams was completely destroyed by something that shouldn't have been capable of doing any real damage at all. A Soviet DSHK heavy machine gun. When I first heard this story, I assumed it was nothing more than a patriotic myth. But the deeper I dug, the more surprising the findings became. Because this isn't rumor. This isn't propaganda. This incident is described directly in official U.S. Army after-action reports, as well as in an interview with the American officer who personally witnessed it. According to Colonel David Perkins of the 3rd Infantry Division, the incident took place on April 3, 2003, during the rapid push toward Baghdad. His brigade was advancing under heavy fire. The lead Abrams in the column was engaged in an intense firefight with Iraqi infantry and burned through all the ammunition for its coaxial machine gun. At that moment, the tank commander switched to the .50 caliber M2 Browning mounted on top of the turret. To do that, he had to expose himself above the hatch, and during the fight, he was wounded twice in the arm by small arms fire. But the real danger came not from the bullets hitting the commander, or from RPG teams hiding in nearby buildings. It came from something no one in the brigade had even considered a threat. American reports stated that the Abrams crew had stored personal gear, spare equipment, and several flammable items on the rear of the turret, around the bustle rack. This was a common habit in Iraq. Crews had little room inside the tank, and the bustle rack often became an improvised storage shelf. But the problem was location. On the back left side of this same turret sat the Auxiliary Power Unit, or APU, a small gasoline engine designed to power the tank's electronics without running the main turbine. The APU was lightly armored, protected mostly against shell fragments and low-caliber bullets. And this small detail is what doomed the tank. Somewhere in the chaos, an Iraqi fighter opened fire with a DSHK. Most of the rounds simply pinged off the Abrams armor harmlessly, exactly as expected. But a burst struck the rear of the turret, hitting the exposed gear, the ammunition belts stored outside, and finally the APU itself. The impact caused the fuel inside the unit to ignite instantly. Flames shot upward, catching the crew's equipment and extra machine gun belts on fire. The tank behind them reported over the radio that the lead Abrams was burning and needed to stop. But in the middle of the advance, the commander kept moving. Within minutes, the fire spread deeper into the turret bustle. The blaze intensified, feeding on fuel, cloth, and ammunition until it finally reached the engine compartment. Once that happened, there was nothing the crew could do. The main turbine ignited, and the entire rear of the Abrams was engulfed in flames. The crew bailed out and survived. But the tank burned to a total loss. American documentation later confirmed the cause of the destruction. Secondary fire initiated by DSHK impacts. In other words, the Soviet heavy machine gun had not penetrated the armor. It had triggered a chain reaction by striking exposed equipment and igniting the APU, causing a catastrophic fire that the Abrams simply wasn't designed to handle at that time. And here's the key detail. This wasn't an isolated case. Similar fires had been reported multiple times in Iraq. The U.S. Army eventually admitted that the location and protection of the APU, combined with the habit of storing gear around it, created a serious vulnerability. In later versions of the Abrams, the auxiliary unit was replaced with battery systems, and in the modern SEP variants, it is enclosed in a proper armored housing to stop exactly this kind of incident from ever happening again. So yes, it's true. A Soviet heavy machine gun didn't penetrate an Abrams. It didn't destroy the tank through firepower. It destroyed it through circumstance, vulnerability, and human error. Even the strongest machines can be brought down if the right spark lands in the wrong place.